Welcome to Speak Out Charlotte. I'm your host, Jim Puckett. Thanks for joining us tonight. We get together every Tuesday night to talk with people who are involved in Charlotte-Mecklenburg region to talk about the challenges we have, the opportunities we have, and any general information that we think will make your life and you a better informed person.
Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Marcus Philman. I'll be your host this evening. I'm filling in for Jim Puckett, who's taken a couple of days off to be with his family. We have with us today a returning guest, Superior Court Judge Eric Levinson.
Marcus, thank you for having me
Mr.
today.
Levinson, how are you, sir? Thank you.
Great to see you. It's great to see you.
Judge Levinson, you are running for the North Carolina Supreme Court. For those that are watching the show this evening, can you give a little background about yourself, how you got started, and what made you decide to go into law altogether?
Sure. I grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina, attended public and private schools here in the area, was fortunate to attend Chapel Hill for law school, also Georgetown University in Washington for economics courses. Returned to North Carolina. It was my goal to join a prosecutor's office. It was my hope to be a criminal prosecutor inside the courtroom. So I joined the district attorney's office in Cabarrus and Rowan counties, of course just north of Mecklenburg County. Was there for several years. I then became a district and family court judge here in Mecklenburg County and was a judge in the family and district court for 6 years. Then joined the North Carolina Court of Appeals in Raleigh as an associate judge. I was there for 5 years. 5 years into an 8-year term at the Court of Appeals in Raleigh, I resigned my position and accepted an appointment from the United States Department of Justice to lead what we called at that time the Civilian Rule of Law team in Iraq and Afghanistan for the Department of Justice. And then when I returned from that work, I joined the Superior Court in 2009, and I've been on the bench as a Superior Court judge since that time. And I'm elected from the Mecklenburg County area. However, I hold court statewide, so I might be in Swain County in the west, or in Wilmington in the east, in Winston-Salem or Raleigh. It just depends on what the needs are. Superior Court judges in North Carolina generally hear on the criminal side of the courthouse our most serious criminal cases. The viewers are familiar, of course, with homicide cases and things of that nature, sexual assault, rape cases. And then on the civil side of the courthouse, Superior Court judges frequently hear business disputes, complex cases, and things of that sort. I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate, but I've been a member of the judiciary since 1996, except for some time overseas. Love this community. Love sports, love my family, and just glad to be doing something too that gives me an opportunity to give back and to contribute.
Yes, sir. Now, was this always a passion of yours? Growing up, was law, was justice? What kind of pushed you in that direction? Was it just how you were brought up, or what kind of nudged you to be in the law?
I think I knew from an early age that I wanted to become a lawyer. And I think from a very early on, even in 8th grade, 10th grade, I thought about being a criminal prosecutor. Even at a young age, frankly, and I haven't received this question in a long time, by the way, but even at a young age, something always stuck in my craw about folks who violated the law, violated other people, and I sort of was drawn into that direction. Never set out to be a member of the bench, frankly. Never set out to become a judge and wear a black robe and go in and out of the courtroom. It wasn't until I was in the prosecutor's office, and I was there for several years, that the thought that I may be able to contribute and add value as a judge, and help be responsible for the administration of justice in that way, that frankly I even thought about becoming a judge. And here I am many years later, having served now at all other levels of the judiciary of North Carolina, with the exception of the state Supreme Court. And I've been very blessed, and I enjoyed as much today as I did then. And I think my passion, frankly, is I care as much today about our system of justice as imperfect as it sometimes is, as I did back in 1992 and 1993 when I first became connected with the system of justice.
Now, there's been some things that have changed from the time that you originally got into the system to now. Do you find that with right now the structured sentencing, is it easier, more fair system now opposed to when you first got started? Were things a little more difficult to wade through?
You know, Marcus, I guess maybe it's the gray hair I have and the age I'm getting, because when I tell you that I've had experience, of course, with both systems. Under the system that we used to have in North Carolina, which was, we called it fair sentencing.
Yes, sir.
That was the old system. And frankly, one of the difficulties with that is that there were concerns about consistency. So that if an individual is convicted of a certain offense in Asheville, North Carolina, an individual in Wilmington, under similar circumstances, there was a concern about whether we were treating those folks substantially similar. And that was problematic. And that was in part one of the reasons why we moved in North Carolina, as so many other states nationwide did, to what we have now, which is, as you mentioned, structured sentencing. Yes, sir. Structured sentencing accomplishes two things. Number one, it is a directive from the General Assembly of our state, out of Raleigh, in the General Assembly of North Carolina, that we are obligated to treat recidivists more seriously, which very frequently involves longer prison terms because of the concerns of the General Assembly and that all of us have about public safety.
Yes, sir.
So that was one of the major concerns, but the other concern, too, was trying to enhance consistency in sentencing. I have always found that the level of discretion that I have as a Superior Court judge, and as I did as a District Court judge many years ago, is sufficient, generally sufficient. And I have enough, I generally have enough range of discretion in order to accomplish what I believe needs to happen in a particular case. The General Assembly is frequently coming back and adding additional provisions and amending the structured sentencing guidelines.
Yes, sir.
To give us some added discretion generally. But overall, structured sentencing generally treats our most serious offenders more seriously. Yes, and treats our recidivists more seriously. There are times when I'm not happy, of course. There are times when I might like to do something very different. But generally speaking, structured sentencing has accomplished what the General Assembly set out to accomplish.
Well, I can tell you, in doing a little research and background, there were a couple of things that really impressed me. One item that impressed me that you've already mentioned is the fact that you went over to Iraq and helped them establish some sort of judicial process over there. You know, that's no small feat. And what made you even consider a job or a task like that?
Well, I will tell you that the impetus for my movement into accepting that appointment when I was asked during the administration and by the administration back in 2007 to accept the appointment. Since 9/11, frankly, I haven't been engaged in the military. I had not participated in something that I thought could add value following the challenges that we've been facing nationally and internationally since 9/11. This was my opportunity to do something and to participate. My function as the rule of law team leader, and the terminology was justice attaché, and many of your viewers will be familiar with that term because many of our federal bureaucracies out of Washington have attachés for different departments at embassies throughout the world. So this was an opportunity to add value and to participate. One of my primary functions was to help facilitate what we called major crimes courts in Iraq. We were involved in a collaborative effort with the Iraqis in establishing brick and mortar courthouses in Tikrit, in Ramadi, in Mosul, in Baghdad, and in many other municipalities. And these major crimes courts were operated by the Iraqis. That means Iraqi lawyers, Iraqi judges, were all involved in the investigation, prosecution, adjudication of many individuals who were involved in what the Iraqis characterized under their criminal code as terrorism-related offenses. So that was, we had some success in working and supporting the Iraqis during that process. And many of these individuals were individuals who were funding some of the terrorism-related activities.
Yes, sir.
Individuals who were planting IEDs and taking out the lives of whether they be Iraqis or Americans or others. So that was one of my primary functions. And we had a fairly, what I call a fairly large footprint in Iraq. Even though our offices were in Baghdad, we had ATF and FBI and assistant United States attorneys throughout the country trying to support these efforts. So it was, frankly, it was my blessing to participate.
Yes, sir.
It was my blessing to participate. I mean, I loved my work at the Court of Appeals. I was 5 years into an 8-year term, but it was not, frankly, a difficult decision for me.
Well, it was your way to give back due to the crisis that happened 9/11. Now, did you help? What was your role? Did you help establish the buildings? Did you help write new laws? Did you set up systems? What exactly did you do to help them with the judicial process over there?
We could actually talk about that for a long time, because the process of building capacity in the court system,
yes, sir,
and the process of trying to bring added values of additional transparency and trying to enhance due process a little bit, those things take a long time. We were partners, and when I say we, it's folks inside the Department of State, the Department of Justice, and others, rule of law professionals, who were trying to assist the Iraqis. Mm-hmm. And this was a judiciary, frankly, that was very small. Iraqi lawyers, very educated individuals, and Iraqi lawyers and Iraqi judges, frankly, wanted, in very large part, the same thing that we sort of value. That is, court outcomes that are based on the facts and the law, not based on status or money. Mm-hmm. But they needed assistance in the facilitation of the building of structures, help in going about the process of training new judges, and in resourcing those facilities. Mm-hmm. So it's, and you're talking about a judiciary that was learning to become independent. Mm-hmm. This was a judiciary that had been a part of the policing bureaucracy in Iraq, and the Constitution, the new Constitution of Iraq, brought them into their own as a judiciary. But part of my responsibilities too was as the sort of the interlocutor, or the individual who was responsible for sort of maintaining a diplomatic relationship between the rule of law, the civilian rule of law professionals that we had nationwide,
yes, sir, with
the Chief Justice of the Iraqi Supreme Court, and the other sort of leaders of the federal Supreme Court and others. And so it was sort of a management and a diplomatic responsibility, and at the same time trying to do what we could to facilitate the major crimes court activities.
Right. Now, and when you finished that task, you basically decided to come back, give back to the community, and run for Superior Court judge. Is that correct?
I did. Well, I went to Kabul, Afghanistan for a brief period of time and worked with a USAID affiliate. And my job there was to sort of communicate and support the Supreme Court of Afghanistan in their effort to stand up not criminal courtrooms, but civil courtrooms, actually. The thinking was in Afghanistan that if the Afghanistan judiciary didn't have civil courts, mm-hmm, where people could come in and have contract rights vindicated and have an opportunity, a credible opportunity to have a dispute resolved, then there could, there'd be a failing of, investment in the country.
Right.
And so I went there for a brief period of time. Then I came back to the United States, came back to North Carolina, taught for a little while at the law school here in Charlotte, and then joined the Superior Court in June of 2009.
Okay. So basically for 5 years now.